Hi there, it's Amy from Cakes with Faces, and today is all about one of the main areas of Tokyo, Shinjuku. Now, if you've already been to Tokyo, you might know a lot of these things, but if you're planning your first trip, I think it helps to familiarise yourself with the different areas. So today I'm going to give you a picture of what it's like in Shinjuku and what things there are to do there. And there's new Japan videos on my channel every other Thursday if you want to subscribe. Before I carry on, I just want to show you my new dress design, which is up for pre-order now. It's my Northern Lights dress. It's available in UK sizes 6 to 20. All the measurements are in the shop if you don't know UK sizes, and there's worldwide shipping to any country. If you'd like one, you can pre-order on cakeswithfaces.co.uk and they'll be sent out early October. Now back to Shinjuku. Tokyo is a huge city. In fact, I think it's the largest city in the world. So it doesn't have just one city centre or downtown area. It has lots of them. And Shinjuku is just one of them. But it really does feel like central Tokyo. It's big and busy with bright lights and lots going on. It feels a bit like Times Square in New York or Piccadilly Circus in London, but not just one of them, lots of them all put together. In some ways, it's quite similar to Shibuya, which is also really big and busy. But whereas Shibuya is focused around Hachiko Square, which is the big square with the scramble crossing, if you walk away from that, you can get into smaller, quieter streets quite quickly. Whereas Shinjuku, to me, seems like it's on a whole different scale. It seems to take up a much larger area with more of everything. If you want to see modern Japan and the city of Tokyo, this is it. It's also my favourite place to stay. It might not be for everyone, but it's loud, exciting, lots going on, and that's what I love about Tokyo. It's really well connected. The station has a lot of train lines, which makes it quite easy to get out and around to other areas of the city. And then when you come back to your hotel after a day out, there's shops, restaurants, bars, games arcades, and everything's open really late. It is also really busy. I especially noticed it last time when I was staying somewhere else and then I came back to Shinjuku. Because I wasn't used to it, it seemed really crowded and full on and a bit overwhelming, so it might not be for everyone. I'd recommend going to Shinjuku in the evening. A big part of it is just walking around, experiencing the atmosphere and seeing what you can find. It's also a really good place to take pictures because it really looks like Tokyo. Especially around the Kabukicho area with all the lights and all those vertical neon signs. Sometimes you never know what you're going to see, like this dancing unicorn mascot, or there's even a building with a castle on top of it. To me, it's just a great place to really feel like you're in Tokyo. So on to what there is to do in Shinjuku, and the first is the Metropolitan Government Building, where you can get a view of the city and it's completely free. This was the first observation deck I went to and I was amazed at the view. There's just skyscrapers as far as you can see in every direction. Now there are quite a few observation decks in Tokyo, but this one is free and I think it's a really good way to introduce yourself to the city. When you're at ground level, you're surrounded by tall buildings and skyscrapers, so you can't always see that far, so you don't really get a sense of the city as a whole. But when you go up to the 45th floor, that's 200 metres up, you literally get an overview of the city, and something about it makes you really feel like you're there. It's open late until about 10 PM at night, so you can go in the daytime or in the evening when it's dark, and it's completely free. Next, the Golden Gai is an area of bars where you can go out drinking. It used to be a black market and it's a kind of grid of alleyways and the bars are really tiny. We don't really have anything like this in the UK. For most of the bars, when you go in, it's just the bar and a few seats along it and that's it, really tiny. And lots of them are themed, like there's some rock bars, or they're just decorated with things that are really personal to the owner. My friends went to one that's decorated with just shelves of books and all they serve is lemon sours. If you go, just be aware there are cover charges, which is a bit like an entrance fee that you pay with your first drink when you go in. It's usually about 500 or 1,000 yen. Often it'll tell you on a sign outside so you know before you go in. It's completely normal in Japan, but it can add up if you want to go to a lot of different places. Also, because the bars are so small, once you've finished your drink, it's good custom to either leave and let someone else come in or order another drink quite soon afterwards. It's not the sort of place you can nurse a pint all evening. That would definitely be a faux pas. Something you might hear about the Golden Gai is that foreigners aren't welcome, and there are a small number of bars with no gaijin signs, which means no foreigners. Now, from what I've heard, it's not necessarily because they don't like foreigners, or at least I hope not. It can also be because they want to save the seats for their regulars instead of having them taken up by tourists, or also because they're not very good at English and foreign languages and they want to avoid awkward situations. So avoid any bars that have a no gaijin sign, but everywhere else, just pop your head round the door, and if they've got space, they'll call you in. There's a video about it on my channel if you want to see what it's like. Next is Omoide Yokocho, or Memory Lane. It's kind of the food version of the Golden Gai. It's got alleyways with lots of really small izakaya, which are bars that serve food. It's mostly things like yakitori and small plates of food. It's by Shinjuku Station. When I went, I didn't have the best experience, which is unusual in Japan. Really, I think I was just unlucky with the place I picked, which turned out to be a bit of a tourist trap, I think. It didn't seem that authentic. As a vegetarian, there aren't that many options there, so I didn't have a choice of everywhere, so don't let my experiences put you off, and I would definitely like to go back and try somewhere else. The next one isn't really a thing to do, but if you're in Shinjuku, you're gonna want to go and see Godzilla. He's on top of the Hotel Gracery, and if you're there in the evening, at certain times he lights up and roars and there's smoke. If you stay at the hotel, you can go out on the terrace and see him right up close. I stayed there once and it was a really good hotel with an excellent location. The area Godzilla's in is called Kabukicho, which is a sub-area of Shinjuku. It's also the red light district, so it's where you'll find things like host bars, love hotels, and some dodgy establishments. It's also a really lively, exciting area, and it has some streets that just look so much like Tokyo. You can get some really great photos. You might hear that Kabukicho is a dangerous area, and there's quite a lot of videos that sort of dramatise it, mainly for clickbait. Now, pretty much all the stories I've heard of tourists getting into trouble in Kabukicho have involved them being dragged into dodgy bars by touts on the street, where things happen like they get their drinks spiked, their money's stolen, or they get large charges on their credit cards. So the best thing to do is just ignore the touts, keep walking, and you'll be fine. I don't get too much trouble from them, I just ignore them and walk on. You might find if you're a group of all men, they might hassle you a bit more and be a bit more annoying, but you don't need to avoid Kabukicho. It's safe if you're just walking around the streets and you use your common sense. It's also a good place to stay. I've stayed there quite a few times. There's lots of hotels at good prices. Something else in Kabukicho is the Robot Restaurant, which is a themed dinner show. It's definitely more about the show than the dinner, with really glitzy robots, loud music and dancing. Now, I do have a bit of an unpopular opinion about this. I know a lot of people have been and enjoyed it, but I'm not a fan. It opened in 2012 and to me it just looks completely made for tourists. The tickets are also quite expensive. So on the whole, I'd recommend you go to Shinjuku in the evening and see all the lights. There's lots of places to eat, the shops are open late, you can go to games arcades and karaoke and just have fun. If you go in the daytime, there's lots of shops, there's lots of department stores, several of them are attached to the station and there's some around the streets as well. If you like cute things and Harajuku fashion, look out for Marui Annex, which has Lolita brands, cute things and alternative fashion. Make sure you go to Marui Annex. There's several Marui 0101s around, but most of them are just normal department stores. It's only Marui Annex that has the alternative fashion. There's also large shops like Tokyo Hands, which sells everything, Don Quixote, which also sells everything but in a different style, Muji, Uniqlo, all the shops you can think of. I think Shinjuku has quite a good range. It's not too high-end or fancy. There's something for everyone. If you need a break from all that, there's Shinjuku Park, also known as Shinjuku Gyoen. Gyoen or Koen means park. It's a large park just southeast of the station. I found I don't often just stumble across it, but it's right there in Shinjuku. There is an admission fee of 500 yen. There's various areas, there's a bit of woodland, there's open spaces, places to sit, and there's a Japanese garden with lakes and bridges. It really is a contrast to the rest of the city, and while you're sitting there you can still see all the skyscrapers above the trees. It's a really good place to take a picnic from the convenience store or the bakery and just take a break. Also, if you need a break, a lot of the department stores have roof gardens if you take the lift all the way to the top. Next, just north of Shinjuku is Shin-Okubo, which is Koreatown. It's the next station along, or a 20-minute walk. There's lots of Korean restaurants and shops. You can get Korean cosmetics, and if you're into K-pop, this is the place to go for K-pop merch. Next, I haven't been to this one, but if you like samurai, there's a samurai museum in Shinjuku. It's quite small, but they have guided tours in English, and there's a sword show, and you can try on samurai armour. Finally, if you're going to Shinjuku, just be aware that Shinjuku Station is the busiest station in the world. It really is huge, with different sections for the different train lines and train companies, and it kind of is an experience in itself. You're pretty much guaranteed to take a wrong turning at some point. I think even people who live there get lost in Shinjuku Station. But there's loads of signs and they're all in English. So just keep calm, keep following the signs, and you'll be all right, you'll get there. It's all part of the experience. So I hope that gives you a picture of what Shinjuku's like and some of the things you can do there. I'll put links in the description to my other videos about Shinjuku, including a walk around in the evening, just spotting interesting things, which I think really gives you a sense of what it's like to be there. And I'll be back not next week, but the week after. See you then. Bye bye.